Fleck Show is presented by Window Concepts and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. Now, it's the PJ Fleck Show with Pierre Nugent, Ron Johnson, and Justin Gard.
Hi, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the PJ Fleck Show. I am Pierre Nugent, joined as always by the Gopher head football coach PJ Fleck, Ron Johnson, Justin Gard with me as well. And through 4 games, Minnesota is 2 up and 2 down. The latest game, a minor setback against Northwestern in Illinois. 37-34 was the final in overtime. PJ, I know you've had a lot of time to dissect the video. I know that you're so eager to talk about it more. But from your vantage point, now that you've looked at the film and had a couple days to process it, what went wrong, particularly in the fourth quarter for you guys?
Well, I appreciate the setup to the minor setback. I do appreciate that. That's very nice of you.
I still want to have fun on this show, too. You know?
Well, that's what it's about. It's about explaining exactly what happened. So, our players, it's really hard when you go through something like that because you just don't know how they're actually going to really respond. Our players responded like champions. I mean, nobody wants to go through that. They didn't want to go through that. They didn't want that to happen. You want to go back through the video, too, and you want to sit there and go, they didn't play hard. That was it. They didn't play hard. Nope, couldn't find that. They played their tail ends off. Now, were we detailed enough to finish the game from start to finish? No, we were not. And that cost us because you got to be detailed, you got to be fundamentally sound, and you got to do your job for 60 minutes, not 45 minutes. And Northwestern's been through an awful lot. And they found a way to keep rowing that boat. I mean, that's what they did. They did it longer than we did. And unfortunately, they made way more plays than we did. There's a lot of odd things in that game, and there wasn't just one thing. You go back in that fourth quarter, there's 12 to 14 things. You're sitting there and go, how did that actually happen? And 99 out of 100 times, that doesn't happen. But it happened that one time, and they all happened in a row. And it's unfortunate that we let that one slide away. But there's a ton to learn from, and that all goes on me.
Yeah, when you look at that last play, the deep ball, I mean, that happened a couple of times with the DBs where whether it was they thought the quarterback was sacked or the play had extended. How do they look at that film and then make sure that doesn't happen again? Because those plays are going to happen again where quarterbacks come out and you just got to keep covering for, unfortunately, for 4 seconds.
A few double moves got us, which there's no need to bite on a double move when you're up 21 points. Yeah. But I think everybody tried to do something. And that's what this team has to realize. Just do your job. Not everybody has to be the hero. Not everybody has to make the play. Not everybody has to end the game. Just be you within the system. Play your role, and we're going to be fine. I think one of the biggest keys, to their victory was they went right down the field after we made it 31-10. Within a few plays, they were down the field in the end zone within about 40 seconds. That never happens to our defense. They got into a rhythm. They got really confident, and we were never able to take that away. Things like this, down the field just don't happen with our DBs on some of our best players, and they took advantage of it. You got to give them a lot of credit because that was earned. This is not a fluke. That was earned, and they found a way to win.
You talked after the game that you've been through losses like this. Your players maybe haven't, especially some of the younger ones. And there is a certain shock when you give up a lead like that in the fourth quarter that might be different than a regular loss, quote unquote. Right. So what's the key from coming back from a loss like this as opposed to maybe something different?
Well, what we did on Sunday was we showed them different comebacks from all sports, whether it's professional baseball, professional football, professional basketball, people that were down, and they came back against the greatest players in the world. And then still that team responded and won the ALCS or the NLCS or the NBA championship or the conference finals, whatever it was. We showed them it happens. We showed them, Green Bay, and I think they came back from 17 down to win. Yep. It happens in football. Unfortunately, it happened to us. It's my responsibility to make sure you prevent that. When you go back as a head coach, you say, okay, what could I have done better to make sure that didn't happen? And a lot of the things you did set up for that not to happen, and it still happened. So it's, you got to give them a ton of credit. They've been through a lot emotionally. They've had a real hard offseason, and sometimes that emotion can really channel into some things that are just odd and they happen, and you got to give them a lot of credit. I'm really happy for their head coach, really happy for them in a way that, that you've been there and done that with a lot of different things emotionally of how teams have gathered. We've had that here. We had that at Western Michigan in some types of wins, and you know how that feels. And they've been through an awful lot. So this is about the student athletes. This is about the kids. I want our kids to win as much as anybody. But when you watch something like that happen, all you can do is tip your cap to them.
I want to take you back to late in the fourth quarter. You guys had a 4th and 3 from their 37. Walk me through what the process is like in terms of thinking, should we punt or should we go for it in that situation with a couple of minutes to go? You guys decide to punt, to give it away, put your defense back out on the field. Walk me through why maybe you didn't think that going for it was the best situation.
Yeah, we'll go back one play further, the 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
Right, they're out of timeouts. A first down wins the game.
Right.
Right. We run a play. Our running back ends up bouncing it instead of really kind of hitting it in there. All you got to do, you got to hit it in there and get your legs churning, push the pile, go get the first down. We bounce it out to the outside and lose 2 yards. Well, now we lose 2 yards. So now I'm sitting there thinking, okay, field goal or we're going for it. Now I'm in, let's punt it. Then we punt it down. We have a perfect executed punt. Q just lose sight of where he is. This guy's done this all the time. He makes a play that's spectacular before this. It's very difficult to do. Unfortunately, it happened to him. Instead of having to go 99 with no timeouts, they ended up having to go 80 with no timeouts. Still should have to go 80 yards with no timeouts and be able to make that happen. But 99 might have prevented it. But we didn't execute the plays, and he's done that 100 times. Just 101, we just weren't able to execute it. And Jim Tressel taught me something a long time ago, and I've said this all week. I said, what do you love? What did you love at the time? He was coaching at Ohio State, and I worked for him. I said, what did you love about coaching in college? And he goes, you just never know what you're going to get from 18 to 22-year-olds. And it can be the best of times. It can be the worst of times. And that's very unique. Now, things like this happen in the National Football League all the time, but these are kids.
Right.
And it's hard. And it's no excuses. They all took responsibility. We took responsibility. It was everybody's fault. But I appreciate them understanding that we got to get better, and things like that can't happen.
Yeah, and I know this is a team game, so when you talk about the offensive line, you talk about the play calling, you talk about the receivers blocking downfield. Darius Taylor, for a 3rd week in a row, is now breaking records, Big Ten Freshman of the Week. I actually tweeted that in the 3rd quarter that he's going to win it, so just book it. I got the receipts on my tweets.
You're into the great call.
I got the receipts. But he is, what makes his game so special?
Well, people don't realize this. I mean, he was a wideout all through high school, and then his senior year became a tailback. What makes him unique is the ability to play really big, really strong, and then also play small at the same time. He's 6 foot, 218 pounds as a true freshman. And this young man has a very bright future, but he is one of the hardest workers on the team. This kid could have went anywhere in the country. He ended up coming here because he wanted to play early, he wanted to develop, he wanted to get not only just football, but wanted to be around great relationships with people. He's way more mature than his age. And he came in here, knew he was going to have to earn it, knew he was going to have to compete. He didn't get it. He got 1 carry in the Nebraska game. And then we ended up going with him, and look what he did. Talk about somebody taking advantage of their opportunities. This young man has, and he is a phenomenal human being.
And when you talk about that, he played receiver in high school, so have we not even scratched the surface with this kid lining up at receiver and doing some other things within his offense?
We haven't, because he's only going to get better because of how hard he works. And when we first got him, okay, he kind of reminds me of the running back that played at Pitt, who's now with the Cardinals, who beat cancer, Connor.
James Conner.
And I'm not saying I don't know him, but I know his story, and then I also know how he runs and how people fell in love with him, because Pat Narduzzi coached me in college, and he's the head coach at Pitt, so I followed that kid's story and his journey to a T. This kid has a lot of that in him, the inner drive to be his best, not the best, not to compare. But he can do a lot of things that probably the normal person couldn't do. And he has that running style where he's a little bit straight up. In January, he was way too high. Now he's already low. So to answer your question, he accelerates his development at a rapid level and is thirsty for more. He's never satisfied, and that's what's going to make him a really good player.
We saw in that highlight package a huge hole by the offensive line that he ran through, and then the 4th and 1 where he housed it. There's one guy in the stadium that's not happy there, and it's offensive line coach Brian Callahan in the whole group, because he didn't feel like the line did a good job on that particular play. Long-winded way to say your line has been pretty good here the last 3 games. I know they struggled a little bit against Nebraska, but they've kept Ethan clean for the most part, and they're obviously doing a good job, blocking for Darius and everybody else.
Yeah, I think they're playing really as one right now. They're playing congruent. There's a lot of fluidity up front, and it takes a while to build that. Not just off the field, not just spring ball, not just training camp, but true games. And I think they're doing a good job. Now, the one thing I love about them is their willingness to constantly be better and change their best. They're not satisfied. We're playing a team this week that's going to stunt and blitz and come from everywhere. So we got our work cut out for us. And, but they're really doing a good job of coming together as a unit.
the run game has obviously been very effective, so Ethan hasn't been asked to do as much or needed to do as much, but a pretty solid performance from him against Northwestern. What did you like from what you saw?
Well, you're talking about a bounce back.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch the throws he's making. He was 8 for 8 in the first half, and he could have easily folded after that North Carolina game. This might be one of the better throws I've seen anybody make in college football.
Yeah.
And he's a really special young man who's learning how to be a great leader, who's learning how to control the team. He's learning how to be able to respond and control himself. He's just making huge strides. And as we go through the year, it's just interesting. You know, every year is its own year, and you don't know until you go through it. You think you have an identity, you think you know who you are, and then you find out what you are. I mean, we got a quarterback hurdling people on the sideline, but he's learning how to do that. He's learning how to go win games. He's learning how to what loses games, not only just at his position, but as an offense. We've always been, hey, we get a lead in the second half, we'll have a 9-minute drive. Maybe this team's not built that way. Maybe we're going to have to find different ways to be able to extend drives. And that's what you find out with proof. And you don't know that until you actually go through that to find it out. You can't just say we're last year's team. So that's what we're all finding out. I'm proud of his progress so far up to this point, and I know he's really hungry for more.
And when you look at the defense, Strigal forces a fumble, sacks on back-to-back plays. But when you talk about him within this defense as well, how big has he been for just the entire team getting to the quarterback?
Well, I think it's critical. We're getting to the quarterback better than we have in the past. I think that was the whole offseason was getting better at the pass rush, not just when I'm blocked, but when I'm double teamed or I'm single blocked or I'm inside or outside. Everybody has an opportunity within our system to go make a play and be incredibly selfless and keep doing your job. So, it's unfortunate we weren't able to get that win because there were so many positive things that so many people aren't looking at right now because of just the result that our team's getting better. And that's what I'm focused on.
Well, we have plenty more to come here on the PJ Fleck Show. You heard PJ talk about that offensive line just a moment ago, and we'll be joined by one of the veterans up front. Quinn Carroll joins us on set when we return here on the PJ Fleck Show.
Let's row the boat. You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back into the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. Joined now by a special guest, one of the veterans on the offensive line, Quinn Carroll, joining us now on set. Quinn, we appreciate you taking the time. Yep. As a veteran on this team, what is some of the messages that you try to relay to some of your teammates, and how do you try to conduct yourself and lead by example, especially after when you're trying to bounce back from a couple losses in a row?
Yeah, I mean, just leading every day by example and with my voice and actions, just making sure that everybody is on the same page. We're all rowing in the same direction and making sure that nobody's falling off, especially as we try to bounce back from a couple losses, but especially in the offensive line working together and making sure that we're taking one step each day.
And when you look at, I've been in your position as a player. And just really quick, I've been through a Hail Mary loss, literally to Northwestern in 2000. So when you're a player and you're in that situation and you know it sucks, because I didn't have to deal with this, how hard is it to just turn off the internet, turn off social media, just get away from it for a while?
It's difficult, but for me, in season, I'm off of that stuff. I try to be away from it as much as I can, and I try to, preach that to our guys as well because it's not good for you. And we just got to focus on, we got to learn from the film, flush it, and then move on to the next game because there's nothing we can do. Obviously we want a different result, but, it's over now, so we got to move on to the next one.
You've gotten a front row seat over the last 3 weeks to seeing how Darius Taylor has been able to run the football. How much pride do you take as an offensive lineman seeing him win the Big Ten Freshman of the Week award for a third time? So It's a Gopher record.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in that. He's a heck of a player. But, we understand that he makes us look very good as well. So we're just doing our job up front and hoping that he can take all the glory for it.
And when you talk about, combined sacks, you guys have done a great job, and against Northwestern did a good job. What is that conversation like between you, the center, the guard, when you guys are trying to figure things out within the game? Because I know it flies fast.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest parts of offensive line play is communication, making sure we're all on the same page and getting the protection set. Who's the ID? Who are we working to, and making sure we can all do our job. And Coach Callie does a great job of preparing us each week.
PJ, as a head coach, how much do you rely on a veteran voice like Quinn's? It's his 5th year. When you're going through something like this, how much do you lean on a player like that to help the rest of the players?
A ton. You have to. I mean, we talk about elite teams, players lead. I mean, you're going to have to rely on your players to be the voice that is backing your voice up, and you all have to be on the same page. And Quinn's done a really good job. Quinn's been around the block, spending his 3 years at Notre Dame, getting a degree from Notre Dame, experiencing that programming, that culture, and that expectation, installing that, plugging that right into ours as well. A lot of parallels to that. And all he's done is make our offensive line better. He's made our offensive unit better, and he's made himself better. And that's what he's about. When he entered the portal, we were on him so fast because we didn't get a chance to win in the recruiting battle up front, but we were able to get it on the back end, and we wouldn't have it any other way. He's done a great job leading that O-line and this team.
Quinn, you come from a football family, right? Your father played, your brothers played.
That's right.
When you guys are together, is it only football talk, or is there a little bit of a rivalry? What's it like, the family dynamic with you guys, all football players?
Yeah, so it's a lot of football talk, but we try to talk about other things too. Try not to be one-dimensional, and we've got some females in the family as well.
Sure.
So we try to make it as not one-dimensional as possible. But there's a lot of good football talk, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of. And my family and I love it. But, there is a lot of football talk.
And when you talk about culture, because everybody talks about it now, and honestly, it was taboo before PJ Fleck got here. Now everybody wants to talk about culture, and everybody has one. Being in a culture like this, how important is it for you as a fifth-year senior to kind of lead the team and let them know, like, this is how we should do it, this is how we respond, this is how we bounce back?
Yeah, I mean, like Coach said, coming from Notre Dame, I've seen a different culture. And, this culture has changed me astronomically as a man, as a player, as a person, as a student, spiritually as well. So I can take that knowledge that I've learned from another program and understand how much better this one has been for me, and really preach that to our guys that this, if we invest in it, then we'll get a lot more out of it. So that's just like how I'm hoping to lead our guys.
And do you have your suit for homecoming? Like, do you have a homecoming? Are you ready for the dance?
No, not yet.
But I heard PJ say guys actually asked, like, did you think there was a dance, or?
I was just about to ask, is there a dance? I didn't know there was a dance.
No, there's not a dance.
No,
there's not a homecoming dance.
He's a fifth year. He's not going to ask if there's a dance. It's the freshman. Every year the freshmen ask, so, Coach, where's the dance? We've had one or two already. Where's the dance? Is there a dance? Do I have to get a date for the dance? I'm like, this is so different than your high school. You poor young man. Let's sit down. We'll have a conversation.
So, Eddie Dino, were you the homecoming king or no?
No, I was not. I was not the king. The football players were kind of away from that.
Okay,
gotcha. Fair enough. Quinn, we appreciate you taking the time. Continued health and success the rest of the way. We appreciate you taking the time again.
Thanks for having me.
More to come here on the PJ Fleck Show. When we come back, we got a game to talk about next Saturday, and it is homecoming week. We'll look ahead to Saturday's matchup against the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana. That's next on the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. Let's row the boat.
Welcome back into the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. Time now to turn our attention to this Saturday's game. The Gophers go back and finish up the non-conference portion of the schedule as the Raging Cajuns from Louisiana come to town. Coach, when you study them on film, what stands out to you when you look at the Raging Cajun? One of my favorite mascots, by the way, Raging Cajun. I love that.
Well, they're really explosive. They scored a ton of points. They're 3-1. They should be 4-0. This is a team, if you look back a few years when Billy Napier was there, this team was in the Fiesta Bowl. They're really, really talented. They got a ton of athletes. Their quarterback can really throw it. He can scramble around, get out of the pocket. They've got wideouts that can go up, make plays. They've pretty much beat everybody and blown out everybody they played, scored a ton of points, play really good defense, a lot of movement on defense, and they're really well coached. They're a very disciplined group. And, again, they got it. They're going to throw the ball all over the yard. And also, they got 3 running backs that can all play.
And we talk about that, the movement on defense, trusting your keys, not letting your eyes get you in trouble. How do you get Ethan Kaliakmanis ready for a team that's had 18 sacks in 4 games?
Yeah, that's the big thing. They're one of the best sacking teams in the country. And, we just got to we got to be able to – our game plan's got to be pretty simple up front. They're going to do a lot of movement, a lot of stunts, and we want to keep that pretty basic. To make sure that our guys know where the guys are coming from and they can trust their tendencies and they can trust their fundamentals and techniques. But these guys get after it, that's for sure. They get after it. So of a matchup.
You guys talked a little bit about homecoming with Quinn. I wasn't a part of that, so we got to Minnesota homecoming. But this is a very special anniversary. It was 20 years ago this month. Western Michigan went to Northern Illinois. PJ Fleck on homecoming, 10 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. 37-10 victory. What a magical homecoming memory that must have been, PJ.
I don't even remember that.
You remember. I wish I was more prepared. I would have gotten the VHS tape. We could have put it in. We could have shown you making those catches, celebrating at Northern Illinois.
That would have been tremendous because that's the only way I was going to be able to remember. Michael Turner must have had an unbelievable game that game, Michael Turner, because I usually kind of caught a lot of passes when nobody covered me. And nobody even knew I was on the field. That's how I caught most of my passes. But homecoming's all about our alum. It's about our fans. It's about the state of Minnesota. It's about everybody coming together, and our job is to go out there and put the best performance we possibly can for our fans on the field. That is the job of homecoming for the football team. So
Michael Turner, 173 yards rushing, 211 yards total, 2 touchdowns.
I mean, I just told you. That's exactly why.
Pretty good second fiddle, though.
Decent.
You were the holder, too? I didn't know you were the holder on field goals.
I was the holder, yeah. So, I mean, all those catches were probably for first downs, probably some third and longs in there. I couldn't run. I sat in a hole. Somebody didn't cover me. It's not that spectacular.
Was there a dance after the game, though?
Oh, a dance? No.
No dance?
I found out in high school there's a dance. College, there's not. Just like our young freshmen always ask me, so, Coach, where's the dance take place?
Well,
like the Armory.
Sure, yeah.
Head over there like there's a big dance, get a date. They don't get the difference between high school and college, and it's always the freshmen that ask me about the dance.
Well, for those of you watching at home, feel free to dance like nobody is watching after you're done watching the PJ Fleck Show. And don't forget to join us this Saturday on the Gopher pregame show as we get you set for kickoff between the Gophers and the Raging Cajuns. We thank you all so much for joining us here. Don't forget, you can watch the full PJ Fleck Show on YouTube as well on the Fox 9 YouTube.